Hello friends, Chef Sky here, and this morning I'm going to demonstrate how to prepare the golden cheddar. It's one of the block cheeses from my new cookbook, the Non-Dairy Evolution Cookbook. I've simplified the technique since my first cookbook, the Non-Dairy Formulary. I had some readers who were having difficulty with the cheeses setting properly. So after doing some experimentation, I started to realize that the acids in the cheese were causing the problem. So I reformulated the technique, and I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate it for you. It's actually very simple to do. What you want to do, you just need a small saucepan. You need a mold to shape your cheese, and I'm just using an aluminum baking dish here. And then you want to measure out all your ingredients first. And this is really important, to have everything measured out and ready to go. I'm going to use soy milk today. Since my other cookbook, I've also added almond milk as an option, homemade almond milk. And if you're going to use that as an option, it's in the new cookbook, and you really want to follow the formula in the new cookbook to get the right consistency. I don't recommend using commercial almond milk. It's just too watery for the cheese. The cheese will not have the right texture. So you start off first by putting your soy milk or almond milk into the saucepan, and then you just want to add your other ingredients, your dry ingredients. Now what I've done is I measured the acid that's used in the cheese, and I've set it aside. That's going to go in after the cheese is cooked. So you just want to set that aside. Okay, so I'm going ahead and adding my dry ingredients. I got a little miso paste here. Like that. I've also got my coconut oil set aside. So you want to mix the seasoning ingredients and the other dry ingredients together first. And just whisk it together. Turn the handle here so you can see a little better. Takes a little whisking when you're preparing one of the cheeses that have miso, because the miso paste, it takes a little bit of stirring to get it to dissolve. But if you persist, it will dissolve. Okay, so I've got my basic initial ingredients whisked together. And I'm going to go ahead and just whisk in the coconut oil. You don't really have to fuss with this, just follow the directions in the cookbook. Now the oil is not going to completely combine. It's going to be a little bit separated still at this stage. Because you want the emulsification of the cheese to occur while it's cooking, not beforehand. Okay, so we're going to just set this over medium-low heat. Now, if you have an electric range, you're going to want to start it off on a higher heat setting because it takes a while for the electric range to warm up. And as soon as you start noticing the curds forming in the mixture, then you want to turn the heat down to medium-low. But if you're using a gas range, go ahead and start on the medium-low setting. And then you just kind of want to give it a stir. And at this, go ahead and set your whisk aside because you're going to want to use a flexible spatula at this stage. Now the reason I don't continue with the whisk is because it doesn't really scrape the sides and the bottom of the saucepan effectively. The spatula is really better for that. So all you need to do is just stir gently. And it'll take it a couple of minutes for the curds to begin to form. Now the cheese really doesn't take any longer than about 5 to 6 minutes from start to finish. So if you're cooking it for an excessively long time, you probably don't have the heat high enough. At the same time, you don't want to have the heat too high because what that can do, it can cause the emulsion to break. And what that means is that as the cheese cooks, the oil is going to separate back out of the cheese mixture, and you don't want that to happen. Now the way this is prepared, it's adding the acid. The acids really provoke that. So by adding them at the end, it really helps to prevent that from occurring. So, okay, now I've already got curds forming. And the mixture, what that is, the mixture just starts to look real lumpy. So you just want to keep stirring. And as the curds begin to form, you're going to want to pick up the stirring speed a little bit. You see the mixture's thickening, it's getting really lumpy. Like I said, this occurs pretty quickly. It doesn't, it's a very quick, Wheeler block cheeses are very easy to prepare and very quick. Now you're not going to get the complexity of flavor as you would with some of the cultured cashew-based cheeses, because those are cultured with with bacteria from lactic acid culture. Okay, it's getting really thick and lumpy now. Now what you want to do is you want to stir it vigorously until the lumps begin to smooth out and the cheese resembles melted cheese. Okay, as you can see, it's starting to smooth out a little bit now. Now, if you're really unsure about this, you can use an instant read thermometer to make sure it reaches, I believe it's 170 degrees, 175 degrees. But, it's really not necessary. You just want to get it, it needs to be hot enough to activate the carrageenan. Now you can see it looks like melted cheese at this stage. And there's just a little bit of lumpiness in there, so I'm going to keep stirring. Keep scraping the sides and the bottom of the saucepan. Okay, we're good to go here. So, remove it from the heat. I'm just going to set it aside so you can see what I'm doing. Now you're going to want to fold in the acids. And for the cheddar cheese, it's a combination of acids that I've used. I've used a commercial lactic acid and a little bit of raw apple cider vinegar. And you're just going to want to beat that into the mixture. And like I said, the nice thing about this is by adding them at the end, the emulsification has already taken place, so you're not provoking the mixture to break. It works very well. And I think it's really going to solve, if you've had problems in the past from the non-dairy formulary, making the cheese, this is really going to solve that. The directions are on my website, thegentlechef.com. If you click the menu, option for the non-dairy formulary, these new technique and directions will be there. Okay, got that combined. And you just want to go ahead and transfer it to the mold. Now, depending on the cheese, some of the mixtures will be thicker, some will be thinner. It depends on the variety of cheese and the ingredients used. Okay, what you don't want to do, don't mess with the surface of the cheese at this stage. Just kind of let it settle on its own. And it will settle. I got a little bit of lumpiness in there, but when you flip it out, that's going to do the bottom of the cheese. You're not going to see that anyway. So, and transfer it over here. Then after it cools for about 20 minutes, you're going to want to cover it with plastic wrap and then refrigerate it for 6 hours till it completely firms. Now the cheese at that time, you can remove it from the container and it's ready to be used, but it's really going to benefit. What's going to happen as it chills is that the water in the soy milk is going to precipitate to the surface of the cheese. So you're going to want to wrap it in some paper towels and place it in a plastic bag. And over a period of a few days, keep changing the paper towels, and what it does is it draws the excess water out of the cheese and gives you a firmer texture. So when you first, unmold it, it's not going to be as firm as it's going to be, say, 2 to 3 days wrapped in paper towels. It really helps with the texture of the cheese. you know, for slicing and shredding. It just gives it a better overall texture. And that's really all there is to it. You know, it's a one pot procedure. Make sure you have the acid set aside first. Don't put them in until the very end after the cheese is cooked, and you should be good to go. Good luck. Thanks.